Alright, quick update on the Bitcoin dominance. So, for the past 2 weeks, we have been heading to the downside after we did poke our head above this sideways channel that we've basically been residing in since the 3rd of May. So, more or less, if we clear up the data and look at it how it is, we've more or less just been in a sustained crab market trending sideways for quite some period in time right now. At least in the short term though, it is very, very evident that we are still in an uptrend. And I would like to highlight, these cycles do happen time over time over time again, where you do have a big move up and then you start crabbing to the side. For example, right over here, we literally went sideways on the Bitcoin dominance. I mean, from here to here, we were the exact same percentage on the Bitcoin dominance for 238 days. And you can see, this is very, very similar to the market structure that we had, where we rose above. It's slightly different because in this instance, we rose above this W pattern and then went sideways. In this instance, we just started to move up to the top of the channel. And since then we broke back down, but we are still making higher lows in the market structure. Now, it does seem very evident to me that the Bitcoin dominance is still very, very bullish. If we get everything back on the chart, you can see, I mean, we had a massive run up for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks straight. And currently drawing from the low to the high, it looks like we're coming back down to the W breakout / 786 Fibonacci. So if I remove the drawings once again to make it a little bit more clear what's going on, from this low to the high, we came back into this orange box, which is the most important range of support for the Fibonacci's when you're drawing from the low to the high. And it's the most important level of resistance when you're drawing from the high to the low as well. So drawing from this low to this high on this uptrend, we are currently residing just above the 786 Fibonacci. So in my opinion, as long as 43 cent holds, we're probably going to be completely fine for the dominance. And once again, let's see if 43 cent correlates to this level. It pretty much does, 42.6%. So we could see another slight flush to the downside for the next couple of days before we do start booting back to the upside. So why has the dominance been heading down? Well, there's a very, very simple reason for that. If we come over to Bitcoin, yes, we are in a macro downtrend. This is very easily characterized by the Heikin-Ashi candles. But if we switch back over to the Japanese candlesticks, which most people use anyway, you can see for the past week, we've been pumping because we've basically been sitting at Bitcoin's previous all-time high. If we pull up this chart, this is Bitcoin's all-time high. We came down to its all-time high and we had a bounce. Is that surprising? Absolutely not. Why are altcoins bouncing? In my opinion, because Bitcoin's bouncing, altcoins have a lower market cap, altcoins have been getting decimated against the Bitcoin dominance for months now, and subsequently this is just a very exuberant relief rally, in my opinion. Now, some of the momentum indicators are calling for something different. However, I would like to highlight on the weekly time frame, this very much may be a break, because the dominance does like to take these breaks every now and then, especially on the weekly. For example, when we were in this bearish trend, you can see we had a 3-week break where we started to head bullish, headed back down, and then you can see massive break to the downside, three weeks worth of relief rally, and then you broke back down here, massive run up, you took a week break and then stepped in for another 2 weeks, and then on the upside, quite recently, we had this massive run up. We took a break for a week while we were in this downtrend, coming down to this box of Fibonacci's. We had another leg up to here, and now we're coming down, and we're currently once again coming down just like we did here. So if we look at the market structure, on the weekly time frame, we took a break as we were coming into these fibs. Now we're taking a 2-week break as we're coming into these fibs. So, once again, higher time frames, nothing has changed. It is interesting to see how well altcoins have performed, though we'll be talking about that in just a moment. But we do need to recognize, we look at the Bitcoin all-time chart, and it's very, very evident that we are obviously having this bounce because people believe or people think the bottom is the previous all-time high, and I don't blame them. I personally don't think the bottom is the previous all-time high. I think 6,500 is where I believe the bottom is. Why do I think 6,500? Well, it's actually more over to, it'll probably be about 17,000 by the time we get down here, but this is where the 300-week moving average is, and historically, this has always been the bottom in a mass capitulation event. If we extrapolate this back as well, this looks like it would have bottomed over here as well, because the 200, we capitulated below it down here. If we look at the market structure over on the 200 week over here in the pandemic scare, we capitulated below it. So there's once again a few reasons why I think 16,500 is on the table. And if we look at the total crypto market cap, yes, while Bitcoin's been bouncing on the previous all-time high, basically the entire market's been moving up. So Bitcoin's been moving up, the altcoins have been moving up. That is very evident by looking at the fact that Bitcoin's moving up, and then also looking at the fact that the total and the total 2, which is the altcoin market, is moving up. Now, the altcoin market specifically, this is the outperformance that we're seeing right now. This is why the Bitcoin dominance has been going down for the past 2 weeks. So I really do think we need to put this in perspective, and we still do need to recognize that while Bitcoin's been getting beaten down a little bit harder than the altcoins, and a lot of people are taking relief rallies on altcoins, we do also need to think about why. We need to recognize that most altcoins are down, 60, 70, 75% from the all-time high. And we know this because if we look at the total 2, which is all the altcoins summarized together, we're 69% down from the all-time high, even after this pump. So we came down 75%, meaning if you added up all of the altcoins from the all-time high on Bitcoin, they capitulated 75% collectively. So is it surprising that the Bitcoin dominance is going down for 2 weeks or so, coming into a major area of support? It's not really surprising. Did I personally expect it to come down that hard? Absolutely not. I was definitely not thinking it was going to come down that hard, but I was also saying when we were up here, if we do come down, as long as we hold this orange box, then we are going to be just fine, and nothing has changed. We're still in a higher high, higher low structure. The altcoins are still in a lower low, lower high structure. For example, if I look at Solana, and I don't want to go into all of these altcoins and take up a bunch of time, but you can see, yes, in the past week or so, altcoins have definitely been outperforming Bitcoin, but they were outperforming Bitcoin here, they were outperforming Bitcoin here, and they were outperforming Bitcoin here. What do they all have in common? From the all-time high, they are riddled with lower highs all over this chart. So I think this is just, I think the Bitcoin dominance is coming back from its break. I don't know myself, but if I know the Bitcoin dominance, I know that it likes to take holidays for 2 to 3 weeks. And when it does come back from its holidays, it does not enjoy looking at the altcoins taking its place. So if I had to hazard a guess what is going to happen for the dominance within the next couple of weeks, I do think it's going to come back, and I think it's going to come back with a bang. What do I mean by that? I believe in the next month, in the next 2 weeks, really. 2 weeks is kind of where I'm predicting that Bitcoin is going to start to macro head down. I even think it could happen in the lower time frames, because if we do look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is, let me see, I think I deleted my previous chart on this, which I definitely don't want to do. So this was the Heikonashis. I'll deal with this later. But nonetheless, this is what I think is going on with the dominance. 786 Fibonacci between the ranges of 43 to 42.6%, and I'm still bullish. MACD, higher time frames are still bullish. Yes, we're taking a break on the squeeze bomb, but like you can see, this bounce is very, very minuscule, and the total altcoin market is still coming in to a lower high from last week. So bear in mind, the price target that people are getting out of bed for on the altcoins right now was the FUD price target from last week, because 2 weeks ago, if you said we were coming down here, that would have been FUD. Now, when everyone's getting out of bed for this pump, it is still, once again, a lower high, and we see these time over time over time again. So once again, I don't think the bottom is in for altcoins or BTC yet. I do think we're probably going to crab a tiny bit, and then altcoins are going to head for that massive leg down to 315 billion is my personal bear market low prediction. And since I made this prediction, we have moved up a tiny bit, really not too much. So as you can see, I would be predicting for 212 billion to get wiped out of the altcoin market cap, meaning a minus 40%, which really isn't too hefty. I mean, it would be down here at 315 billion, putting us just below the previous all-time high. And once again, altcoins move a lot more euphoric than Bitcoin. So seeing Bitcoin capitulate below its previous all-time high should definitely mean altcoins should capitulate down to this level. And that is basically all I've got for you. So that is what I think is going to be happening for the altcoins. That's what I think is going to be happening for the Bitcoin dominance. I think the dominance is taking a break. The higher lows are still intact. Higher highs are still intact. We've probably just moved up a little bit too fast. Yeah. So I think this is the break. We're probably going to come back next week or the week after and slap the altcoins in the face. That's all I've got for you today. As always, Cowboy out. Peace.